Hi there, this is Doug, the Eclipse Whisperer, and this is a quick video on uh, inventory adjustments um, and finding returns that are kind of stuck in limbo. So in the case of our example company here, we have a company that for years has not processed returns properly, left things in limbo in the queue, put them on the shelf, and then didn't tell the system that they were now available for sale. Now later on, as we're doing cleanup, we're finding items that are on the shelves and the counts are wrong and they're in the wrong locations, and how do you fix that up? And there are a couple of different ways of handling. In this case, we're going to use this example product, this Halo product, and say you were doing spot inventory checks and corrections, and you've pulled this up and you've gone and looked at product location maintenance, and we see all kinds of mess here. So we have a few locations that have a count of 0, but since they're stock locations, they're sitting there in limbo. We can see on the last count there doesn't look like there's been anything there for a while, and it looks like there is a count of 70 in GO5B. So let's say, for example, you go through here and it turns out, yeah, there's none in G5D, G6D, F3A, and lo and behold, you do a count and there's a count of 71 in G5B. Okay, what's the best way to correct that? There's a couple different ways to go here. You can either, if you're within this screen, probably the simplest would be to take this return, change it to stock, then make that a quantity of 0, add that and make that a quantity of 71, and then save it. That would be one way, which will work, but a little convoluted and not entirely the most kosher. The slightly more correct way of doing this would be to look in the return goods queue and process it from there. Let's go ahead and close that. And looking at the return goods queue, of course, you can do the sales order number here. If you remember it, in this case, in order to filter the return goods queue, I gave it branch 1, price line of Halo, and gave me these couple. If there were a lot more to look at, I can do filtering and do a find product and put in the product name, and it'll search through for the returns that cover that. In this case, well, I know it's this item right here. So a slightly more kosher way of handling this particular thing would be to select the item, and then we would go into return information. Alright, in return information, screen's a little kooky, we would go ahead and change the return quantity type from review to stock. None of that. We're just putting it back. We're just putting it back on the shelf. Do that and exit, and there. And when we refresh, lo and behold, it drops off the return goods verification. Now, if we go back into the location maintenance for that product, alright, so this is the longer way around, but essentially did the same thing. So it just changed it from type R for return to S to stock. So we'd still have to do the other bits here. So we change that to 0. We change this to 71 so that the counts match. And then at this point we can go ahead and delete these locations that are zeroed out, including that return. So delete that row, and delete that row, and delete that row, and delete that row. Alright, so now we've got the one remaining location with the accurate count, and we can go ahead and close this and save the changes. And if we want to check our thing again, make sure that what happened is actually what happened, and lo and behold, 71, one location, everything's clear. So as said before, two ways of doing it, either from location maintenance. I could have taken the return item, changed it from type R to type S, and then change the counts and delete the locations, or I stepped you through the longer, more technically correct way of doing it, which is through the return goods queue. Your mileage may vary. Use what's most suitable for your current conditions. And this has been probably the quickest video I've ever done, and thank you for your time and attention.